Alright guys, so here's what you're going to be doing today while I'm working with the architecture side of the class. You're going to come in here to Lab 1, and here is all of the instructions for your lab. And then obviously this video will serve as your demonstration. There's 2 assignments today. I'm going to cover both of them in this video. You can pause and start and stop as you need. So, Lab 1 is the title. The instructions are using the attached reference image below, you're going to create an orthographic projection of the shape in AutoCAD. You'll follow the steps to complete your work. Essentially, when you're done, so you're going to open AutoCAD, as we've just finished a few minutes ago, setting up your template so that it works whenever you open the program. You're going to just open a new file, and it should be in your template. We're going to draw our orthographic projections, so the front, the top, and the right side. You're not going to include the isometric view. We'll talk about those later, but for the time being, it's just the front, top, and sides. You're going to make sure that everything is accurate, and then we're going to put it on on the Layout tab in AutoCAD. When you drew them, they should already be arranged, but you might have to move the thing around a little bit so that it is clearly placed on your sheet. And then you're going to save the file. That'll give you the DWG. You'll save it as Lab 1. And then you'll go to print it or export it as a PDF. You will submit both the PDF and the DWG file to the Canvas assignment. So here is the assignment. It should be very familiar to you. Yes, I know it says Lab 3 at the bottom. That's a little bit confusing, but these are literally the same drawings that you did when you went through the workbook in the drafting class. We're just going to do them on the computer. I mentioned this before, but because of that, Labs 1 and 2 were handwriting assignments and measurement assignments, and you don't have to do that for this class. So Lab 3 is your Lab 1. So let's take a look at how to do this. You can have this open the whole time. I'm going to pull this onto the other screen so I can see AutoCAD, and we're going to go from here. So by default, when you've started your program, you should see your origin down here. What we're going to do is start the line command. We're going to start at our origin because that's the lower right-hand corner of our drawing, just like when we did this manually. So we're going to do 0, 0, that's our origin. Oh, apparently I didn't have the line command running. Let's try that again. 0, 0, enter. So now I have my line connected to my cursor, and it wants a measurement. Right now, when I put the measurement, it's going to be really small. As you can see, it says like 36 is the length right now. So I'm going to use my mouse wheel, and I'm going to click to pan so we're more centered. And then I'm going to roll up with my mouse wheel to get closer. And now you can see we have a much better number happening on the flag. The other thing that we're going to do, or rather, you'll notice that I can move my line and it will go to any angle. This little spot right here below my cursor tells me what angle it's going to be. And by default, we're in something called polar tracking mode. So if we come down here, we see this blue box selected that's a circle kind of with an angle in it. That's polar tracking, and that means that I can put my line anywhere, but it will snap to certain things. By default, it snaps to 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270. But you can place it anywhere. Depending on how you want to work, especially in these first assignments, where pretty much everything is going to be a straight line, you can also switch over to what's called ortho mode or orthographic tracking. That's the little angled line with the square into it right next to the circle down here. Hopefully my video is not covering that. Once you click it though, your cursor gets locked to one of those angles. You can't put it anywhere else. So this is helpful when you're first drawing things out. So we're going to draw the front view here. And we know that our view is, 3.5 inches long. We know that because of the 2 dimensions on the top view. However, or rather, you can start off by just doing 3.5 inches, so 3.5 and enter. And then I move my cursor up, 1.5 and enter. Oh, I apologize, I was looking at the wrong thing. I just pressed Control and Z at the same time on my keyboard, and that undid the last step. What I actually want to do is come up 0.5. I am moving my cursor back towards the left and typing 1.5. Moving my cursor up and typing 1. Back to the left and typing 2. Now I can move my cursor down and click on the endpoint. I can type 1.5. I can also just press C on my keyboard or click this right here. Pressing that and pressing enter closes the shape. So now we have the overall outline. You can come over and measure 1.5 inches and draw a line down. I prefer to use the offset command. That's this one right here. It's also O, enter. The first thing it wants is a distance, and that distance is 1.5. I'm going to click on this edge, and just like when we were drawing the title block, all I have to do is move it in the correct direction and click once. And with that, the front view's done. Now, for most of our assignments, you're going to want to have a specific spacing between our views. There's a couple ways we can do this. Just a second. Alright, sorry about that. I got distracted a little bit, so I might repeat myself here. I zoomed out here, and when we're doing especially our initial drawings in AutoCAD, we want our shapes to be spaced apart a certain amount. And that amount is 1 inch, especially for this assignment. If that's ever different, I'll let you know. Now, there's a couple ways we can do that. My preferred method is to use the line command, and we're going to build some scaffolding or some construction lines. So I'm going to start the line. I'm going to click here on the top of my shape. I'm going to move up 1 inch and press enter a second time. And I now have a line here that I can easily select to delete, but its function is to essentially connect things and keep things lined up. So if we look at our drawing, which you should have open in front of you, that point is kind of in mid-air when it comes to the top view. So I'm going to start another line. I'm going to connect it to the beginning of the line we just created. And I'm going to come up another inch because that's how far it is on the top view. And from there, I'm just going to draw the rest of the top view exactly the same way we did the front view. So we're going to come over 1.5. We're going to go down 1, over 2, up 1.5, back this direction towards the left, 3.5, and then down. And I'm just going to click this one. And with that, we have the outline of the top view done, and then we have these lines that we can just select and delete. And it's as simple as that. We'll do the offset just like we did previously. It even remembers how far, so I'm just going to press enter. Click the line I want to copy, move it to the left because that's the direction I want to copy it, and press escape. And with that, we have the top and front views done, and that just leaves the side view. That was interesting. The side view, if you remember from when you did this in manual drafting, gets all of its information from the 2 views you've already had completed. But essentially, we're going to do the same process. I'm going to start in the lower right-hand corner of my front view. I'm going to come over 1. I'm going to go up 1.5, to the right 1.5, down 1.5, and back to the beginning. delete my scaffolding line. I'm going to use offset. This time the offset is 0.5 because our solid line is referencing the top of our front view. So click and move up. And then the hidden line that we have to put in is also ½ inch. It's referencing this here, right? But it's hidden behind the rest of the shape. So we're going to click here, move to the left, and click. And we're very, very nearly done. There's one thing we have to do to finish the shape, and that's to select the very last line that we did, come up to our layers drop down, and choose hidden. And you can see now, or maybe you can't on the video because it is hard to see even on my screen, we have a blue dashed line that is hidden. So that's the shape itself. You're completely done with the drawing. I would go ahead and save this as Lab 1. I'm going to come over to Layout now, and you'll see that my shapes are in here, but they're not really centered. So here's the trick to making sure everything is the right size and centered. You're going to double click in the space so that we have the dark border and the view cube. You're going to click on the zoom to extents key here, which is the same thing as double clicking the mouse wheel. Once it's there, we're going to double click out here in the gray space, select the border, go to properties, and change the custom scale back to 1. And then everything shrinks back down and it's perfectly centered in our view and everything's good to go. You can see that I have Lab 1 filled in, I have the date, I have the location that my file is saved at the moment, and all we have to do is click save one more time, and then I'm going to click print, and stare baffledly when it doesn't want to do it for some reason. There we go. I'm going to click continue. Actually, I'm going to don't show this again because we don't need this pop-up. We're going to click continue with a single plot. Click OK. Name it Lab 1. And click save. And there you are. Lab 1 is done. All you have to do is upload the, let's see here, where's it? The Lab 1 drawing file and the Lab 1 PDF file to Canvas. And then you'll move on to Lab 2. And hopefully by the time you get to that point, I'll be done with my lecture with architecture and I can help you out if you need it. But do take a stab at doing Lab 2 by yourself. There shouldn't be anything new other than the shape itself from what we just did.